So hello everybody and welcome to today's session, DP600 exam for Fabricators. Now before we get started, a big thanks to all the sponsors for this event. Without sponsors, events like this are simply not possible. So make sure you keep supporting them. So before we go any further, shall we introduce ourselves?
Yep. Okay, that's me first. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Pragati Jain and I'm currently working as an analytics manager within Avanade based in London, United Kingdom. And yeah, today we are here to talk about DP600. So a little bit around my experience with it. So overall, I've worked in this industry for 12 plus years. So mostly working with data. And I'm a data platform MVP, so mostly I work more around Power BI side. But now, since Fabric is there, so mostly I keep on working within the Fabric area. I'm also one of the super user at Microsoft Fabric community. So if any of you are not aware of this amazing community, please go and join it, because this is from my personal experience. I have learned 70% of my Power BI from Microsoft Fabric community. So if you're really keen to start your journey, definitely go and join this community, because there are amazing people out there within the community that will help you get started in any way you want. And then, just outside my professional work, I'm also an event organizer for Data Weekender that happens every year. It's a free data platform conference that me alongside Kevin and few other organizers organize every year. And I'm also a user group leader for Microsoft Fabric UK user group, which is a virtual user group where we try to share information around Fabric, Power BI, and so many other different things. Kevin.
Over to me then. So my name is Kevin Chant. I'm a data engineering manager for Avanade, living in the Netherlands. However, as some of you can probably tell from the accent, I'm actually originally from the southwest of the UK. However, I live in the Netherlands for various reasons. So I've worked in IT since the days of Windows 95, and that's probably as much I should say about that. Over that time, I've had experience in various sectors, including the banking, oil, and health insurance industries. I've gained various certifications over the years, including the one that we're presenting about today. I'm also currently a dual category Microsoft MVP, because I've got awards for both data platform and developer technologies, Microsoft certified trainer, etc. And like Pragati mentioned, event organizer and also one of the organizers for the Dutch Fabric user group, which is an in-person user group in the Netherlands. So over to you. Oh, okay. I'll ask some questions beforehand then, just to get a feel for everybody's experience. Who currently has had exposure to Fabric, apart from Chris and Pavel? Okay then, so who knows about the DP600 exam? Has anybody taken the exam? No.
Okay. I mean, yeah, except Pavel and Chris in the room, but yeah. Okay, cool. So I think this is the right session there and then.
Definitely.
Okay, it's me. So now when it comes to any certification exam, so before trying to understand what that certification is about, or I mean, what is the journey you're going to take to plan for the certification and prepare for the certification, the first thing you do is you go and understand what that exam is about. So let's see what the exam is about. So this DP600 certification is basically a Fabric Analytics Engineer certification, which was announced last year during Ignite. And yeah, it's been nearly a year since it was announced. And it mostly focuses on a Fabric Analytics engineering role. So it's not just like a single persona-based certification. What I would like to add here, it's more like a combination of where different roles come together and where you are expected to know certain different skills to get through this certification. In other words, it's just about implementing an end-to-end analytics solution for an organization. So let's just go through some of the few simple facts about the certification. I'm not sure in the room how many of you have taken DP 500 certification, which just got retired this year in the end of April. So that certification was more focused around the engineering aspects for the analysts. And this certification has now been replaced in a way by DP 600, the new certification. So if any of you have already taken DP 500 and have passed it, then that can actually benefit you to start your journey in taking the DP 600 certification. The other thing about this DP 600 certification is, as I mentioned, it's not a single persona-based certification. It brings together several profiles and skills together. That's why it requires you to understand multiple workloads. I think we'll be touching base on the workloads when Kevin will show you a quick view on the Fabric environment. So when we talk about multiple workloads, it's more around if you're coming from data engineering background and you have got certain experience around working with, like, say, lake houses, or you are good into your coding skills, like, PySpark or Python, how to start a cluster, run your notebooks. And then the other thing is, like, for example, if you're coming from a background like myself from Power BI, which is more from the analytical side, like where the concepts of data modeling, how to, optimize your data models using external tools like, say, Tableau Editor, DAX Studio, or, what are the best practices around creating reports. So when these multiple workloads comes together, that's what is included in this exam as well. Then, yeah, as I mentioned, one good reason why you should take this exam. First thing, it doesn't matter whether you come just from Power BI profession and you can't take this exam. You can, because this exam gives you an opportunity to upskill yourself to something more. Like, for example, myself, coming from Power BI background, have started upskilling myself in the data engineering side of things. Like, for example, how PySpark works, how I can write those notebooks, how I can efficiently use those notebooks to increase my productivity as a Power BI analyst. So it's not just about the Power BI aspect, but it also gives you a chance to learn something new, explore something new, which can help you with your productivity. For example, the second aspect of this is, if you come from data engineer background, this certification gives you a chance to explore and upskill yourself into the Power BI side of things. So let's quickly talk about the Fabric workloads. I think this is the diagram which has been. Thank you so much, Kevin. Right. I think this diagram has been around all over the place since Microsoft Fabric has been announced. So if you just see the overview of it, like, Fabric workloads are more around, like, if you're coming from data engineering side, it gives you data engineering capabilities. If you're coming from data warehousing backgrounds, it gives you data warehousing capabilities. If you are coming from Power BI side, it brings together the Power BI elements as well, and along with that, data factory elements to ingest and transform your data. So basically, Fabric is bringing everything together in a unified way, in a collaborative way. So you can work with different skill sets, different capabilities in a single environment. And just to highlight some of the other items which are included in this certification, or cover the certification side, or require a knowledge around, is Azure Repos, Power BI Desktop, some external tools like DAX Studio and Tableau Editor too.
Yeah, so just to clarify a couple of things about this as well, as far as the diagram on the left is concerned, these are the workloads that you must focus on for the exam. Clearly, there are other workloads, as you've probably seen in the other versions of this diagram. So that's the reason why you only see 4 from there, because that's the 4 main ones to focus on. An additional one, like, and the additional items, like Azure Repos and Azure DevOps, Power BI Desktop, DAX Studio, and if you need to troubleshoot, for example, Direct Lake using DAX Studio, there happens to be a really good post by a Microsoft employee about that. So if you go to your search engine of choice and type that in there, you'll be able to find a blog post all about it. And Tableau Editor too. So it wants you to have at least a basic understanding of those additional items as well. So this is pretty much everything all on one screen for you about what is covered.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, just a high-level view on, like, what all skills are measured. So when we look to this certification, it has been like divided or sectionized into like 4 different areas. So if we look around like planning, implementing and managing or creating a data analytics solution, that covers 10 to 15% of this. And this is completely taken from the Microsoft Learn website, where they mentioned how this split should be. And if you have to when you talk about preparing and serving data, that basically covers the majority of the certification, like how you can use Data Factory to ingest your data or transform your data using different areas, like whether writing notebooks or using Dataflow Gen 2 or just uploading files. So that preparing and serving data is the major part of it. And implement and manage semantic model covers 20 to 25%. And further, exploring and analyzing data is again 20 to 25% of this certification.
Pragati,
So, yeah.
We've got one question online.
Yeah.
The question consists of 3 sub-questions, yeah? So the first one, how long will be the certificate actual? Are the questions on exam aligned with the releases? And could other certifications taken partly in account?
Okay, so if I understand, the first question was like for how much time this certification is valid.
Yeah.
So current, I think if I'm right, the current validity is once you take it.
Once a year.
Yeah, once a year you'll have to just renew it. So once you take it, and if you pass the exam, then you pass the exam, but every year you need to renew that exam to make sure that certification stays with you.
Yeah, so basically is what I like to call a 2-star exam, because it's an associate certification. So the majority of the associate certifications, you have to renew them every year.
Yeah. And the second was around, sorry?
Are the questions on exam aligned with their releases?
You mean okay, so can we get more clarity on it? Because the question is like if the exam is aligned on the releases of the certification. That's the question. And I'm not sure what releases the person from the audience is asking there.
Unless they mean the releases, the updates to Fabric.
Yeah.
And the last one, could other certifications taken partly in account?
Okay, so the question is like if there are any other certifications that can maybe contribute to preparing for this exam, if I understand that correctly. So definitely PL 300, which is the Power BI base advanced certification. If someone has already taken that certification, then that exam can help you with preparing for this DP 600, because this certification is more around the Power BI skill set. So the advanced features within Power BI, if you are working in Power BI from last few years, then yeah, this certification can help you. So if you have done PL 300, that adds a plus point to taking this certification. Then apart from that, there are some data engineering base role certifications like DP 200, and which Kevin can actually mention more, I guess.
So in addition to that, if you've already been working in data engineering for a while, and for example, you've done the DP 203 exam for the Azure Data Engineering certification, you can use some elements of that for the exam as well. For example, your PySpark background, it can be quite useful. Going one step before then, if you've been looking at the material for the DP 900 exam, which is the Azure Data Fundamentals certification, quite a few aspects in that exam you can actually apply when you're studying for the DP 600 as well. And in fact, one particular route you may want to look at doing, if you've already done a few Microsoft certifications, is to do the DP 900 exam first to get a good understanding of the data fundamentals. Then look to do the PL 300 exam, so you get a good foundation of the Power BI knowledge required. And then you can take it one step further to do the DP 600 exam if you wanted to have a nice route of exams and build up your knowledge over time. So.
Yeah, and I think if any of you in the room has already passed DP 500 in last few months, I mean, obviously that exam has retired now, but still, if you have that level of experience, then DP 600 again gives you a chance to use that knowledge and upskill yourself on the areas which are not your expertise, and then you can still go with that exam. Is that the only question we had, right? Okay, cool. Okay, so let's quickly have a quick demo around what this exam is around. So I'll just quickly switch my screen and just take you through the exam page here. So yeah, don't worry about the links. We'll be sharing this deck with the organizers, and even we have put it on our GitHub area as well, so you can grab all the links from there. So regarding this certification, this is again, as Kevin said, this is a 2-star certification because it's not beginner level certification. It's a intermediate level certification. That's why it's a 2-star certification. And as I said, it's more focused around being a Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate. If we talk about this certification, currently on Microsoft page, it kind of says like this is focused and it could be beneficial for 2 different roles. So anyone coming from, say, either from data engineering background or coming from a data analyst background can actually target this certification to upskill themselves and clear it. And mostly it is focused around the Microsoft Fabric product. So if you have got any experience with Fabric working, I mean, I'm not sure in the room how many have experience working with Microsoft Fabric already, but you have already started exploring Fabric, say having a trial license, then still you are aware of what's within Fabric, what all different workloads are within Fabric, and that can help you skill up as well. So if you have knowledge of Microsoft Fabric, then definitely you can start preparing for this exam. When it comes to overview around the exam, like what all different kinds of workloads or different kind of components it focuses on. So it kind of focuses more around lake houses or data warehouses, or say if you're a data engineer, you're used to writing notebooks, right? You are used to writing those PySpark and Spark SQL codes, then yeah, this will definitely help you. If you're coming from a Power BI background, then yeah, it definitely covers data flows there. So you must be used to working with data flows. So that can help you again. Then there are certain other areas like data pipelines, then semantic models. Like if you're coming from a modeling background, then yeah, it kind of covers that area. And also in addition to that, it covers the reporting side of things. And one benefit for you could be, for example, if you're coming from any of these particular areas, if you have worked like a solution architect or a data engineer or a data scientist or AI engineer or DB admin or a Power BI data analyst, then this certification can really help you. So this is going back to what I mentioned in the starting. It doesn't matter from which background you come from, this certification still gives you opportunity to upskill yourself, and then over the time you can actually target this certification. Then there are certain areas where this certification requires a depth knowledge. So if you haven't worked with before, like saying deep around, say, data modeling optimization or how data model works or data transformations, or say Git-based control, which is currently available in Microsoft Fabric, or exploratory analysis, or say if you haven't worked with languages like DAX or Spark or SQL, then you might have to work on it so that you get enough experience to take before you take this exam. So what I would say is it's not just about going through the Microsoft Learn path, but if you have some advanced knowledge or have got some background in certain areas, then that will help you more, because it's an intermediate level exam. It's not a beginner level exam. So it requires some kind of experience before you go for this exam. Then there are certain skills measured, which we already talked about, like planning and developing a data analytics solution, preparing and serving data, how you can manage or optimize semantic models, and how you can explore and analyze data. Then if we further go down, then there on this certification page, there is a Microsoft Fabric Analytics Engineer course that is recommended by Microsoft, which can help you in, getting ready for this exam. So when I'm saying help you is because there's a reason, because as I said, like just going through the Learn parts or just going through these courses, or there are so many blogs out there, people like Kevin, Nicola, Andy are writing about DP600, that will help you. But if you have got some experience, I would really want to stress that more. You need to have some background experience to clear this examination. Here you can see like there's a course already given by Microsoft, which you can go through just to go through and see like what this course has. It has got certain different kind of learn parts here, like for example, end-to-end Fabric module is there, how you can administer Microsoft Fabric and so on. So you can go through these learn parts and then you can start exploring different bits of Fabric. And if I just go back, these are the different modules that are covered within this certification exam. For example, if you just want to explore around and learn about what is basically Microsoft Fabric. So there's a learn path that tells you end-to-end analytics with Microsoft Fabric. You can go and explore the different workloads there, how you can work collaboratively with teams creating this solution. Then there are a few other learn paths around, like, for example, administer Microsoft Fabric, which takes you through different kind of admin settings, like what all things you should be aware of before starting to work with Microsoft Fabric. Then there are different modules as well available here, like how you can use data flows to ingest data, how you can use Spark notebooks to get your data, ingest and transform data, how you can use pipelines to bring through data in Fabric, and so on. And then working with lake houses and how you work with medallion architecture. So those kind of concepts and all these modules have been shown on this particular certification learn part. So you can go through these, and then you can just get that knowledge and upskill yourself. And there are few things. The first thing, this certification, I think I should open the study guide first, but yeah, for a starter, if you want to learn about Fabric, these learn parts are pretty good to make you aware of like what Fabric is about, how it is used, how you can use it in different scenarios, how you can create lake houses, warehouses, ingesting data using different methods, and so on. So these learn parts are equally capable for you to get that kind of exposure. If you go further down, now the new thing that has come up, I mean, obviously this came out like in mid of February, if I'm right. So there are some kind of practice tests which you can try out to test your knowledge within the areas that this certification covers. Now, yeah, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, if you go back to the exam page, I do want to quickly highlight that some of you that have already looked at the exam page, if you scroll back down a minute to where you just were to open up, you may have noticed that the wordage for this has changed. So until recently, it was actually all called Exam Sandbox. But now you get a take the practice assessment option, as well as launching an exam experience in the sandbox. The practice assessment is the actual test exam itself. The the sandbox is literally just an environment for you to get a feel for the experience of taking part in the Microsoft exam. So be aware, this page has recently been updated. In fact, the last update was 5 days ago. Right before this session, good timing. Yeah. So the wordage for this has changed now. So we just want to make sure you're all aware about that fact.
Yeah. And when it comes to these practice assessment, don't take you get these questions in certification. They'll just help you to assess yourself, like where you are, whether you're ready to take this certification. They're not the exact same questions. It's more around testing your knowledge and validating your knowledge. Yes, so you can use sorry, Kevin.
I was going to say, so if you've ever done the practice test for any of the other Microsoft certifications, it's basically a similar thing here for these practice ones.
And then the other thing about the exam is this is an exam that generally lasts for 100 minutes, and it has got different types of questions which we'll just go into. So let's quickly go into the study guide for this certification. So when you open the study guide for the certification, again, it kind of gives you an overview like what the certification is around, what kind of different who are coming from what kind of profile can actually target this certification, and just prepare for it. Then if you just go down, it kind of again basically summarizes all the skills that are measured in the certification. So we have already seen it kind of focuses on all these different kind of workloads and even different kind of items here. And if you're coming from any of these backgrounds, that will again help you to crack this certification. And I already mentioned that there are few topics which are actually tested in depth during the certification. So again, getting experience or having an experience where you have used all these functionalities will really help you. Skills at a glance, So let's see these skills little bit in deep here quickly. So like when it comes to planning and planning your data analytics environment, then you should be aware of the admin portal settings within the Fabric environment, because that is one of the main key thing that you should understand before starting to work with Fabric, like what all those admin portal settings are, what could be impact of them if you enable or disable them within your organization. So definitely go and check out what all admin portal settings are there. And Kevin will be showing that quickly in his demo as well.
I'll be showing a quick demo about it.
Yeah. And then, it also focuses on the different capacities and tenant settings and what kind of data gateways you are working with, and even some kind of custom Power BI report themes. When it comes to implementing and managing your environment, then it focuses more around like how you can share your data within your workspaces or different workloads, like, for example, warehouses, lake houses, what all different kind of access level controls you can have within your Fabric items that you have created in your workspaces, how you can manage your Fabric capacity, and so on. And then this topic, which is more around managing an analytics development life cycle, I would like to mention one thing here. The Microsoft Learn parts, which are on the certification page, actually do not cover some of these sections. So there have been blog posts around these topics, like, for example, how to work with Power BI desktop project files, how you can use Git integration to have a source control. So these kind of things are actually missing from the Microsoft Learn modules. So you have to literally go and check for the content there. I think we have good documentation around Power BI desktop project files here. So you might have to just go and do that additional learning. So the reason why I'm saying this is, like, just don't blindly go to the Microsoft Learn parts and think that every of this study guide topic is covered in those Learn parts. You have to go back and check and make sure you're covering all the things that are mentioned in the study guide in detail, especially Power BI project files. And I think many of the MVPs have written certain blog posts, like Kevin has written a pretty good blog post around Power BI desktop project files there, which I'm sure you'll be sharing and showing in the end as well.
I can show a quick demo.
Yeah. So there are a few things which you need to be aware of. There are a few things missing from the content, so you have to go and look for it. And when it comes to preparing and serving data, then this certification is focused more around how you can create different objects, like, for example, how you can create a lake house, how you can create a warehouse, how you can query data within a lake house or warehouse using different kind of actions, like, for example, using a notebook or writing queries in data warehouse to explore your data, how you can copy data, whether you use data flows or notebooks or data pipelines to copy data, how you can transform data. Again, when it comes to transforming data, you can have different ways of doing it. You can use a notebook if it is a complex transformation, or if they are easy transformations, you can go with a low-code, no-code approach, which is data flows. So there are different kinds of transformations you must be aware of, like aggregating data, merging or joining data, how you can convert different data types or filter data. So all these kind of different transformations are focused as well. Then one of the main things that you need to focus on in this section is optimizing performance, which is more around how you can optimize your notebooks or SQL queries or data flows. And when it comes to designing and building semantic model, this certification requires your knowledge more around what kind of storage mode you are going to use, like direct lake mode, import mode, or direct query. And it also tests your knowledge around some external tools which are used to optimize your semantic models, like DAX Studio or Tabular Editor.
Do we need to help with a bit of jargon here about semantic models, just in case?
Oh yeah, we can actually. So earlier it was called data sets, but now it is called semantic models. So that's why we are using that terminology, in case anyone in the room doesn't know that. So yeah, thanks for reminding that, Kevin. And when it comes to semantic models, you should be aware of all the relationship types and, what is the best practice way of creating a good semantic model, star schemas, composite models, even the security-based things like row-level security and object-level security. And when it comes to optimizing your enterprise scale semantic models, you should be skilled enough how to use DAX Studio for improving your DAX performance, and also how you can optimize your semantic model using Tabular Editor. The next section, it covers more around exploring and analyzing data, where it asks you to focus more around prescriptive and predictive analytics and querying data using SQL. So then, like we went through some of the study resources for them already, but there are certain other documentation available as well. Like there's a Microsoft Fabric documentation. The only reason we are trying to tell you other documentation here is because those modules haven't got all the information. So you have to make sure you go to all the available resources to cover all the items that have been listed into the study guide for this certification. So you can go through Microsoft Fabric documentation, which is pretty detailed. So you can go through and make sure you're covering all the study guide items as well. And I think that's what I wanted to cover around the study guide. And the other thing, one second, let me go back to the slides. Yeah, go on.
Renewal works as just like a repetition of the exam. So after your never taken Microsoft exam, you have to pay the price and like basically take it again, right?
So the question here is like when the renewal of the certification comes, how it works. So no, you don't have to pay for the renewal. So every year that renewal comes. So for example, if this year you took the exam tomorrow, next year, the same date, you'll get an email from Microsoft that just to go and renew your certification. So it doesn't require you to pay. And it's not like a full 100-minute certification exam. It's a smaller version of the exam, which kind of just tests your knowledge that you're still capable to, validate this knowledge, validate this certification skills. So it's not, you don't need to repay for it.
No.
Pragati, if you are talking about the price, there is one question everybody likes, yeah? Do you know if Microsoft is planning to do some discounts, special offer for this exam in the nearest future?
So I think the question is like, is Microsoft is running anything that can give everyone discounts on these certifications? So if you can just have a little bit of patience, we have that covered in next few slides. So if we can just hold on to that question, because Kevin is going to cover that into his tips and trips. So let's just wait for that. Okay, so just to summarize all the skills around this certification. So when it comes to so this certification kind of tests your knowledge around planning, implementing, and managing a data analytics solution. And it also looks into the general administration and CI/CD elements as well. And when it comes to preparing and serving data, you need to have a knowledge around lakehouses, data warehouses, and data factory. When it comes to implementing and managing semantic models, again, a deep Power BI knowledge is required here, because if you haven't worked with these items before, then you might need to upskill yourself to prepare for this certification, like especially the external tools like DAX Studio and Tabular Editor for optimizing your models. And the last bit of this was more around exploring and analyzing data, which covers more around how you can analyze data using Power BI, or you can use Warehouse Editor, or how you can use XMLA endpoint to connect to external tools to bring in your data from Fabric. So I think that's what we wanted to cover from the content, and the tip section will be covered by Kevin.
So it's back over to me.
Yep.
So do you have some generalized Microsoft exam tips for those of you who have not done many Microsoft certifications, or those of you who've done a few but you just want some more tips? So as we mentioned just now, go through the recommended material on the exam page. If you happen to look on the exam page, and unfortunately I will show you this. Hopefully it will still show this here. I have to come back over. So, for example, can you all still hear me okay? I think so. I've moved away from the speaker. So if you go to open up any of these particular modules, and you happen to see underneath it says completed, there's a very strong possibility you actually completed it when you were studying for another Microsoft certification, for example, the PL300 exam. So if you do see completed when you're looking at the Power BI material, it's worth going through it again anyway as a refresher. So we just wanted to highlight that here. So as Pragati mentioned earlier, and I won't show it all again, compare the recommended material in the study guide. So basically all the things Pragati went through just now in that nice long list, compare that to what is in the recommended Microsoft Learn material, which like you saw just now, because the reality is there are gaps there in the recommended Microsoft Learn material. For example, Power BI projects, and I can actually show you quickly a Power BI project. So for those who have never seen a Power BI project, you get a very nice Power BI report, and then when you save it as a Power BI project, you actually end up saving it, I'll say as metadata, but I could also say as code as well. So you're literally storing it as text, just the actual schema. So those of you who have worked with SQL Server databases in the past can think of Power BI projects along the lines of a database project. So very quick introduction there for some of you. But like I said, make sure you do that comparison because there are things missing. When you notice items like the Power BI project's missing, go to your search engine of choice and go to look on there. Sometimes you'll get various blog posts back relating to this, and some of us in the community have done blog posts with plenty of links and explanations for you. So I'll give you a quick example. I don't tend to do this during my own sessions, but I do, for example, have a post about the analytics development lifecycle requirements. It's fairly detailed and it has a lot of links in there. So if you want to know about that section of the exam, more than welcome to go to that post and go through, or just click on the links. It's entirely up to yourselves. So make the most of the official practice tests that we showed you all just now. This is the same for any Microsoft certification, to be honest with you, and I recommend this for most Microsoft certifications. Either pre-purchase them from MeasureUp, who are the official resellers for the practice exam, or when you go to book the exam itself, you get the option to buy the practice exam at a discount. If you're fortunate enough to work for a large enterprise, you might be able to take part in something called the Enterprise Scheme Initiative website. In there, they also have practice tests for some of the exams, not all of them. And to manage expectations on that, be aware that some of the exam practice tests on ESI are a bit out of date. And of course, the final tip is decide on a place where to take the exam, whether you're going to take it online or whether to take it as a test center. Now, there are pros and cons to both. Obviously, it is nice and convenient to do it at home, but if you do it at home, just be aware there's certain terms and conditions apply. Has anybody done a Microsoft exam at home before? Well, there you go. You all know the rules. You all get them seen every time you book an exam. I don't have to go into that. And of course, the other thing is the reality is there are less test centers now since 2020. So doing that online can be quite an appealing option. So I have some specific tips for the DP600 exam. So the first one is take advantage of the Fabric trial license. And in addition to that, if you can, create your own tenant for use. Now, until recently, I used to say to everybody, sign up for the Microsoft 365 developer program. You get a tenant available for 90 days. You go in there and you create a Fabric trial. However, recently, Microsoft, not all of Microsoft obviously, but somebody's made a decision to limit who can apply for the Microsoft 365 developer account now. So typically in this situation, I advise to people, well, if you work for a large enterprise, you can look to use the CDX website. However, unfortunately, at this moment in time, you cannot create new tenants going through the CDX, the Customer Developer Experience Program. So the only other option that I have left to recommend to people now is to purchase the E5 trial that's available online. Or, of course, if you've got the means, create your own tenant another way. But if you want one for short-term use to trial Fabric, then that's your best option at this moment in time. And I can actually show you the website for it here. Hopefully, there's lots of tabs open now. So if you go to this particular page and you scroll down, you will see there's an option to purchase Office 365 E5, but you also get to try for free, but you need to enter your card details, so you need to remember to cancel your trial before the end, just like every other free trial you get where you enter in your card details. So bear that in mind. So The other one is to book the exam when you are ready. Now, obviously, that's when you've studied for everything, you feel comfortable, but that's a common sense thing. But I'm also aware that some people sometimes feel a little bit pressured by their peers to go and take the exam. But my advice, just wait until you're ready, until you've done the practice tests and you know you're confident with all the material. So personally, I think that there is no point rushing into it. Take your time, learn what you need to learn, and then you're comfortable to go and sit the exam. So another piece of advice is to keep an eye out for any name changes. There have been 1 or 2 name changes within Fabric since this announcement last year. For example, what was maintenance is now optimized, I do believe, and things like that. And obviously we all know about the dataset name change. However, at this moment in time, none of that has directly affected the DP600 exam at this moment in time, but just keep an eye out just in case. And Microsoft do, that's one of the really good things about Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft do make it very well known when they make these kind of changes. So keep an eye out for them.
And just to add to that, the reason why he's stressing that is because that's why you need to have that Fabric trial and try out things. It's not just about reading through the blog post or going through the learn parts. Yeah.
I would add to this that the exam has its inertia, so be aware that the changes that you see in the product may still not yet be applied to the exam questions. To give you an example, we recently changed experiences to workloads, and I bet that we still have experiences or experience as a keyword in exam.
So basically, just a very good comment from Pavel, who actually works for Microsoft within the Microsoft CAT team. He's saying whenever new product changes come up, they are not directly reflected into the certification exam. Not immediately. It takes some time for them to change everything at the certification level. So thank you so much for raising that.
To be honest, I think some of the audience will understand this as well and know this as well. The same goes for all Microsoft exams, to be honest. If there is a change, it does take a while for it to trickle down. As some of us who've done the Azure Data Engineering or the Azure SQL related exams are aware of, it can take a bit of time for it to appear in the exams.
And I think on most of the Microsoft certification exam, there always comes a warning at the top, like the new content for this exam is going to change like on so-and-so date. Mostly it changes, I think, every year, April or May, I guess. So that's a very good thing. If they're going to make changes to any content of the certification, they have it on the certification page by when this change will be effective. So it helps you with the understanding when the new changes will come through your certification exam.
Yeah. When you're going to book any Microsoft exam, really, not just the DP600, like Pragati said, always check the exam page before you go to book. Always check if that banner's there telling you there's going to be an exam change on a certain date, because otherwise you can get caught out. But it does remind me that there was a particular reason why we recommended to create your own Fabric environment. And that's because, as we showed earlier, there are some, I will say, admin level things that you want to be able to test for yourself before you go and sit the exam. Because if you use your work tenant, there's a good chance that certain things are not available to you. So I'll quickly give you a couple of quick examples. So for those of you who've never seen it before, this is Microsoft Fabric. I'm sure quite a few of you have already seen this in one form or another. So things, for example, like the admin portal. I really appreciate that a lot of people, when they're using their work tenant, only get the opportunity to see capacity settings. As you can see here, there's a lot more to the admin portal than that. So that's why I tend to recommend for people to create their own environment somewhere so they can test all these features. So for example, if we go back to what Pragati was talking about earlier, and of course I'm doing this live, so it's going to be slow for me. So if we click on here, for example, and then we click on, and now this is where I have to remember to wait on myself. Like I said, I'm doing this live. So basically, to go into here and look at things like how to change the XMLA settings and things like that. So again, some of this you just can't see all the time if you're logged into your work tenant. So other things which are not so obvious, obviously admin settings, yep, that's obvious. But in addition to that, sometimes depending on your permissions, you can't even see how to do things. And I'll make this a bit bigger here. Let's do it comically large. So sometimes your permissions for certain workspaces won't even allow you to share certain objects. And as Pragati showed you earlier, you need to have knowledge on how to share semantic models, lake houses, etc. So it's those little things as well. And that's why I say, if you can, create your own environment. So make the most of, so as you can see, make the most of online resources. And there is, as you may have noticed, an abundance of Microsoft Fabric resources online now. Microsoft, as Pragati showed earlier, so I'm not going to show again, has really good documentation relating to this. Some of us in the community have also written various blog posts relating to this topic. When I kind of inadvertently plugged earlier, I do apologize. But yeah, go through that recommended material from people. Click on the links that they share. Go and have a look at all the different things that you need to know for the exam. And then finally, and you're doing this today partly, attend relevant events and training days. So when you go to events like this, you soak up knowledge from members of the community like ourselves, and of course, establish members of the Microsoft teams. So there are some recommended Microsoft resources here. We've covered Microsoft Learn already to an extent. You can go onto the Microsoft Learn homepage itself and search for Microsoft Fabric and see if there's any new material there for you. And these hyperlinks, by the way, will be all in the PDF slides that we share at the end of the session, so you don't need to worry. Fabric documentation we've showed, and it's great and it's in depth, and it covers things that I think are really good to cover. The Fabric Career Hub. So the Fabric Career Hub is a really good place to go to prepare for this exam. As you can see, there's a video intro here. If I scroll down, and I'll make this a bit bigger for everybody here, and again, a bit bigger. So you can see, if you go to the Fabric Career Hub, they give you a step-by-step plan to actually pass this exam if you want to. So you can do the Cloud Skills Challenge. At this moment in time, if you complete certain Cloud Skills Challenges, you get a discount. That's for the attention of the person you asked the question. Learn together as well, and that's where established members of the community highlight various content for you on a regular basis in, I would say, video-based sessions. Exam Cram, where you can get together and cram through the exam material. The practice test we've already talked about, and then the scheduling test as well. And as you see, it states about a discount voucher you can potentially get if you go through the Cloud Skills Challenge. Now, outside of that as well, you may find that you get discounts in certain situations for the exam as well, some other ways. So for example, your employer might very nicely provide you with a discount voucher that you can put onto their exam page to get the exam at either a reduced rate or for free. In addition to that, if you, for example, are a Microsoft certified trainer, you get a discount for the exam as well. So I just scroll down this Career Hub a bit more. There's other things you can do from this page. Oh, look. She looks familiar. And then scrolling down from there are some road guidance as well. And I know we already had a question earlier about the 2 or 3 certification. So these are the current rows that are being promoted as part of the Career Hub at this moment in time. So as you can see, Analytics Engineer as part of this exam. Data Analyst, Data Engineer, and Data Scientist, and they tell you the relevant other certifications. But this is a DP 600 session, so I should probably skip that part. So moving on from there, there's a set of videos that I recommend, even though they are coming up to be a year old now. I do recommend the digital launch videos that Microsoft released last May when they did the announcement during Build. Now, granted that some of the material is a bit outdated there, but it gives you a really good foundation for Microsoft Fabric as far as I'm concerned. It gives everybody a basic introduction to the different workloads within Fabric. So that's why when people ask me, I say to them, if you've got 7 hours spare, watch these 2 videos. There are some great demos on there. There's some really interesting demos on there. All kinds of things. So those of you who are wondering about, for example, the performance of Direct Lake can go and watch the demo that's in these videos as well. So the practice tests we've already covered quite a few times. The Learn Rooms, which I just showed you just now, available on that Career Hub. Learn Together, again, available on that Career Hub. As you can see, on the Career Hub, we have a link for that in the slides, and we'll share that link after this session. So there's some additional resources as well. So Nicola Illich has a blog section category dedicated to this exam. Now, for those who aren't aware, he's got quite a lot of in-depth knowledge relating to Power BI, and he shares that as part of his post for this certification. So it's worth looking at. Yeah, we can skip that one. I've already plugged one. Andy Cutler has a really good blog post about the DP600 exam where he shares quite a few of the links to the Microsoft documentation required. So I do recommend going to look at Andy's post as well.
Just to add to that, Andy Cutler's post is really good. The reason is he took all the items from the study guide, which I showed you earlier, and he has linked to every other item on the study guide where you can find the resource to learn about it. Because, sorry.
It's also great about Andy that he comes from the other side, not Power BI, right?
Exactly. He comes more from a data warehousing and data engineering background. So he has literally put in a lot of effort for the community to use his blog. Every study guide element is there, and every study guide element has got linked to a very good post there. So if, as we told you in the starting, there are a few missing items on this certification path. So you'll find all the resources there on his post. It's a great post.
Yeah. So to summarize, the exam has a lot of breadth, as you can imagine. Now, the reality is some people are put off at times because of the amount of breadth. But as I keep reminding people, when the Azure Data Engineering certification first came out, if I remember correctly, it was 9 different services that we had to learn about at the time, including Azure SQL, Azure Cosmos DB, as well as data lake storage, Databricks, etc. Fortunately, Cosmos DB and Azure SQL are now part of different certifications, but people tend to forget that that was the case when that certification first came out. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the same amount of breadth, all those different services. So there is a very clear crossover in competencies, as we mentioned earlier. If you're from a Power BI background, you are going to need to learn things about data engineering. If you come from a data engineering background, you are going to have to learn Power BI and things like DAX, etc. That is the reality for this exam. It also prepares you for working with Fabric in the real world. It gives you a good foundation to go and do certain elements of work within Fabric. As some of you know, the whole spectrum of Fabric are aware of, this exam doesn't cater for things like real-time analytics or data science. But if you're going to be working with lakehouses, data warehouses, Power BI, this puts you in a great place. As I mentioned, there is an abundance of Microsoft Fabric resources online now. There are blog posts, there are videos, there are podcasts, etc., etc. And the final thing to add to all of this is to enjoy your learning journey. So whilst you're learning about all this new stuff for the exam, enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new skill that you'll be acquiring while going through this journey. So yeah, just enjoy whatever you're learning. And I think, Kevin, one thing what we should also mention here is whenever you get the Fabric trial, there are other workloads as well within Fabric, like for example, real-time analytics, data activator. Now these two areas, don't bother about them if you're just preparing for the certification because they are not covered in the certification. But still, real-time analytics is an amazing area. So if you want to explore it for learning, definitely go ahead. But just wanted to make sure that it's not covered in the exam. And also the data science bits you can skip for the certification.
And I've realized actually
It's
that
fine. So yeah, I think that's what we wanted to share with you today on the DP600 certification, and hope all you have a great learning journey for this certification, and good luck from us. If you've got any questions, then yeah, we are here to answer. And that's just in case you want to connect via any social platform with us. More than happy to take questions later as well. So thank you so much.